Welcome to Collaboration Conversations. I'm your host, Regina Partain Bergman, and I am delighted to have a wonderful guest co host today and a beautiful panel that she has brought to join us in this conversation. Would you please welcome? I'll tell you a little bit about her in a moment, but please welcome my co host, Tara Mettler. Tara, so glad you could be here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too. Me too. So, what I wanted to say about Tara is that if you want to make your money work harder for you, you want to increase your net worth, protect your assets, and manage debt, and so much more, create that lasting financial legacy, you need to be talking to Tara. Right, Tara?
Exactly.
Exactly. Tara, we're excited to learn a little bit more about you. Would you please share with us a bit about your journey getting to this place and who you serve and why that's important to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for asking. So, my journey has been one fraught out of frustration more than anything. I've always been a very out of the box type person in everything that I do. And when I started, as I always say, adulting, and started to learn about the different types of ways that people can create and grow wealth and all of that, it didn't resonate with me. It didn't align with how I thought it should be. It didn't feel right. And I thought, this can't be the gold standard. This can't be the best way. And so I've been on a hunt like my entire adult life, looking for the answers in order to help myself find the path that I need financially, because everything I was doing felt really generic. It didn't feel like it was getting me where I needed to be, and it's certainly not as fast as I wanted. And so, long story short, I ended up being introduced to a wealth strategist, and that message resonated. It was life changing. And let's just say I jumped in with both feet, learned absolutely everything that I could. And once I started seeing the positive effects that it had in my life, I started, of course, sharing that with other people, because that's what you do when you find something exciting and
Exactly.
transformative. And I thought, oh, I'm going to be just sharing something that people already know. Well, I found that that wasn't the case. These were people that I looked up to, and they were coming back to me saying, what are you doing? How is this working for you? I need to know more. This is different from what I am aware of. And so it showed me that there was a necessity to have this financial education out there for people. So like I said, I jumped in with both feet and started doing everything I could in order to further my own financial education in ways that were non-traditional and really empowering to the end user, you could say, to the client. And so that's where my business came through, and it's morphed and changed over the years to better assist my clients in what they need. So it's something that I'm very excited about.
Awesome. How long have you been doing this, Tara?
I'm reaching my 5-year anniversary this month.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Congratulations. I love what I'm hearing here and your approach to it and how you can just hear that passion for it and your passion to help others with it. So
Yes,
that's
I'm
exciting.
very, very passionate about it. It's to me something that is severely lacking, especially when it comes to women. I
Right.
feel women are very underserved in the financial world. And so I'm really proud to be a vessel to make that education known to people so that they can have that confidence and clarity that I
Yeah.
too was looking for.
Yeah. It's something we need to be teaching people a lot younger, but it's definitely a hole in our educational system, I think. So
Agreed.
very good. Tara, you have brought some amazing ladies with us, and I want to
Yes.
hear more about them. Would you please introduce each of them individually, have them share a bit about their journey, who they serve, and why?
Yes, absolutely. So, thank you, ladies, for joining me here today. The four women that I have here with me today, I really have the pleasure of not only working with and collaborating with on a regular basis, either as a networker or a colleague, but with some even as clients. I've been clients of theirs. And really, these are some women who are of my most trusted circle. These are people who I refer out to my friends, my clients on a regular basis. And the reason for this is because they are leaders in their industry. They are trailblazers in thought, in what they do. And most importantly, they're very heart centered. And I think that's what's attracted all of us together in how we work together, because we really put the client first and want to do things in a way to support and elevate them. So I'm going to go one by one here. I'll start off with Leslie. If you want to introduce yourself, give us a little bit about your story and who you serve and why.
Sure. And thank you, Tara and Regina, for having me here today. So, I guess the quick story of my journey is that I actually worked in IT. So, I was an IT consultant for many years, worked for Fortune 500 companies, management consulting, that type of thing. And as I was approaching, I don't know, about year 18, I was starting to feel burnt out. Definitely started to, just like Tara, when I would have discussions with financial advisors, just kind of felt like I'm not so sure that this is what I want to do. I felt like the typical financial advice just wasn't aligned with me. And I just start to seek out other strategies, other ways to grow and protect my money. And so I researched some different methods. I got licensed and sort of dove into that space. And so I worked in IT for 20 years, but I retired that career and I've been full speed ahead working in financial services. I started working with individuals. I still work with executives, business owners, but primarily I'm working in the business market, I guess I would say. So working with business owners to help them with business planning. Because what I found was there was a huge gap for really successful small and mid-sized businesses. There wasn't really, I found that a lot of them were very focused on the widgets that they build and they sell and the services that they provide, but the structure of their business, they really hadn't taken much time to be planning around. I think just basic things like who would be a backup CEO if you got sick or hurt, and just things like that. So I do a lot of business planning and helping them to prepare to exit their business, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. Let's put some things in place to make sure that could be as smooth as possible if that time or when that time comes. Or if something unexpected comes, like maybe they get sick or ill, there's divorce, there's a lawsuit, there's lots of different reasons why people have to exit their business. And so making sure that built up as much value in that business and prepared to be able to make that transition is what I've been focused on primarily in the past year or two.
I love that. There is such a need for that because most small business owners or small to mid-sized business owners aren't thinking about that financial legacy that they need to create.
Yeah.
And like you say, whether it's they retire or they want to sell the business or heaven forbid something happens, they're not prepared.
Right. And there's
Yeah.
always such a delicate balance when you're a business owner, right? Between
Yes.
your business side of things and your personal side of things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
also that most business owners assume that they'll be able to sell their business for this magical amount when they're ready on their terms.
Yeah.
And that's just not how it works for
And
most
yeah.
business owners. So I just try to help them get prepared for that.
Excellent. Love it. Sarah?
Awesome. Thank you so much. Carolyn, let's hear from you next. Thank
Hey,
you.
it's great to be here. Just as a side note from collaboration and doing this kind of thing, I can feel my energy boosted and just being with y'all. It's so nice, especially if you tend to work by yourself as an entrepreneur, to have a circle, have a good group of people that can, this feels good. Our company, our print company started almost 40 years ago. And the networking it works. So I was out networking for our print company, was part of an organization, and I was the incoming president. So I wanted to make sure everybody knew about everybody else's business before they left the room, right? So if they were there or not, their business card would have went out the room. And I was about to go to Michael's, and my husband said, "Give me a day or two." And it was less than 2 hours. And he took my business card and sent it to me in a text message. So it looked like the front and back of my business card. It was a touch to call and a touch to email. That's it at the time. But we could text it, we could put it on social media, we could do all these things. But then we had everybody else that's in our group. And so that's how we promoted our group. Well, there I am standing up talking about printing, but people wanted to ask me more questions about having a digital business card. So that's where Form My Card came from. We finally had hundreds of people at the time using the service. So we made it its own thing with part of an idea of it also helping to support organizations like Operation Underground Railroad. So that's those kinds of important, they're willing to do that important work. And I personally would like to support that. So then we started this and we just like our print company, let's do something that helps other people's businesses succeed. This does too. And so that was important in line with that. And it also, we said, we're printers. We want it to cost less than a box of business cards. And then we lock in people where we meet, that we never raise the price. Even if it has to be raised, we have to improve the website or something. That's it in a nutshell. We help people get their brand out there. We're the only digital business card that's brand compliant. We're family owned and operated. The phone numbers lead to our personal phones. Can't bother us, call us. We'll open Zoom and work with people. And it's just good fun to hear what people do. And then we become the people that everyone, hey, who do you know that? And particularly people that want to also have a professional polish. They like to be able to share someone else's for my card and to help that person build their business. And again, when we give a good referral, this is one of my favorite things about networking, when you give a good referral, this person's happy and this person's happy, and they think, and all you did was say,
Yeah.
you need to
Yeah.
each other. But all of a sudden you get this gratitude from both sides. So it's a good time.
It's one of those
Joy
rare
of
win-win-wins.
Absolutely. The joy of collaboration, right?
Yeah, exactly.
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 Yeah.
I
No,
love it.
and her For My cards are just absolutely fantastic. They're super easy to use, and I love the support behind them. But it's like you need help, you just call them up, and there's somebody ready to help you along the way.
Very good. And I
Right.
love that you've kept the cost, like you say, it shouldn't cost more than a box of business cards. I love that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very good. Tara?
Thanks. Very good. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Anitra, would you like to go next?
Thank you so much. And for you, Tara, for inviting me here, as well as you, Regina, for inviting me in this conversation. And thank you to all of the lovely ladies that are on this panel for just being here today. Excited to have this wonderful conversation about collaboration. And as Tara said, I'm Anitra Dean of Anitra Dean Consulting, and I'm a networking strategist and a fractional COO. And to share about my journey literally started because of a conversation. And that conversation was a catch-up call that I was having with a colleague of mine. I was sharing with her about the work I was doing at a foundation I was working at the time, as well as I was working behind the scenes while my husband was a self-published fiction author, and I was working behind the scenes in this business. And I was just sharing with her about what I was pretty much doing with my life at that time, right around the pandemic. And in that conversation, she asked me, Anitra, do you think that you can help me with my business? And I was like, sure. And as I say, the rest is history, but there was a little bit more of those pieces. But that conversation was the springboard in me launching my business that I just turned 4 in May of this year. And I started my business focusing on more operations consulting and being a fractional COO. But about a year ago, I made a transition because one of the things that I found with a lot of my clients was that they wanted to scale their business. They wanted to grow. They knew that they needed to get their operational systems in place. However, they weren't making enough money. They weren't getting the revenue and the clients that they wanted. And so I put on my fractional CEO hat after hearing the song and dance for a while. Okay, why aren't you guys making money? I need to understand this. And long story short, I realized that majority of my clients the reason why they were not making money in their business is because one of their top marketing channels that they were using to grow their business was through networking and word of mouth and through referrals, but they weren't making enough money to grow. And I was like, okay, this is a problem. What do we do? Thus, I pivoted to doing the work that I do now, where I equip women entrepreneurs and small business owners with a strategic network so they can reduce their networking activities and have a model to scale or expand their business. My goal is to turn their networking into strategic business development so they can see more measurable results in client acquisition and revenue generation. And really the passion behind there, even though I primarily work with women, though I don't exclusively work with women, the main reason why I love working with women is because statistically, only 2% of women entrepreneurs become millionaires. And when you look at statistically the top barriers to success for women business owners, it's because they lack funding and they lack access to mentors and to access to individuals to help them to grow their business. And so for me, it's so important that women business owners understand how to leverage their network, how to leverage the people who are supporting their businesses to be able to grow successfully and to get access to places so that they're able to go ahead and share what they do and how they want to go ahead and serve their clients, their industry, and their communities. So that's just a little bit about me and how I serve my clients in my journey.
If I could say, Anitra, if you became passionate about what you do, I don't think the room could contain you. The world could contain you. You have so much passion and drive there. It's awesome.
And that's what I love about her. She is just always so full of energy and ideas and everything. It's just, yeah, she's absolutely amazing to work with.
Thank y'all so much.
It shows.
All right. And last but certainly not least, Ellen, would you like to share your story and how you help people?
Thanks, Tara, and thanks, Regina. We're all just a bunch of stories, and it's just really understanding how all the dots go together. So I'm a little bit reverse of Tara. I spent a big part of my career in financial services, so working for the asset managers, opening regions, opening offices for the brokerages. And if you had asked me, I thought I was going to stay there forever. But what you all know is that women are underserved in most places, and in financial services, they are still like we're battling an uphill battle to be recognized and to get the support that we need. Early in my career, I was fortunate, and I used to say lucky, but there is no luck. So the first coach that I ended up working with was Bob Proctor. Some know the name, some don't. Long before the movie The Secret came out. But I didn't know then that it wasn't just check the box, learn that information, and move on. It is, oh, wait a second. Goals are always happening. And so we might want to be an active participant in that portion of it. And I always like to think that I shorten the journey for my clients for understanding that, because once you recognize that goals are always happening, we should be an active participant. And so it just ended up being right time, right place again, because the last corporate entity I worked for was also just like a square peg in a round hole. And I thought, I need therapy or a coach. Like, take your pick. It was one of, and again, fortunate, Bob was still alive at that point in time, had joined with a brilliant woman, and they were growing their coaching and consulting. And this is when we just have to take that leap and understand that I knew what a difference he had made in my life when I worked with him. And so I made the decision that that was a great model to be able to turn around and serve. And I serve a lot of women because also, like what Anitra said, is that so many don't get to that millionaire status, but also so many just don't even understand they can have whatever they want. They just don't know how to do it. And so while I like to say I don't exclude men, they're always unicorns. They're like the unicorns that will work in the group when they have the like mindset. Because if we just understand that everything is energy and you create it from where you sit today and everything around you was created in somebody's imagination, then they're going to have the best life ever.
Excellent.
So well said.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't add much to that.
I know, right?
Like, okay. So, ladies, I love what you're all doing. This, Tara, thank you. Such a beautiful group of women, physically, spiritually, passionately, and making a change in the world. Let's talk about what Ellen just talked about for a moment, and what some of the rest of you talked about, how women aren't achieving that millionaire status, that they're struggling more. How can we use collaboration, like we're doing here today? How can we use collaboration to help with that rising tide, so that we're not just talking about one business or two businesses because those women become millionaires, but that we lift the whole boat? How can we use collaboration to do that?
Well, I can start us off and then we can go around.
Awesome.
To me, it's like relationships are so important, right? And I think that's why we all network. That's why we work together in that way and use it. Like when I'm working with a client, I use my relationships in order to leverage up what I'm trying to support my client in. And so that collaboration is super important to me because to me, I'm looking at it as to the health of my client. So when we're, especially if we're talking about women and women being underserved, several of us have mentioned women are severely underserved in the financial market. And it's interesting, I've been doing some market research just myself lately. And it's interesting because when I'm speaking with women and asking them about their goals or different things like that, I am disheartened as to how many of them are saying, that's not something that I take care of. And it's like, well, that is something that even if you're not taking care of it, you should be aware of it because the time could come where now you do have to step into that role. Just even coming from a personal experience, my father died at 33 years of age and left my mom with 4 kids, all under the age of 9. And she had to become a completely different person at that point and handle things that she didn't have to handle before because he lovingly took care of it for the family. But it left her in the lurch at a time when she was emotionally struggling and was not something that she should have to jump into at that point. And so it's something that when I'm working with clients, I'm always taking a look at like it takes a village mentality of who else can I bring into the relationship in order to be able to help support them get to the goals that they're looking to accomplish. So whether that's in business, whether that's in mindset, whether that's in any of these different avenues is something that to me is very important.
Absolutely agree. Ladies, Anitra?
Yeah, I would love to definitely hop on that. And Tara, I think you brought up such a great point in that even though you don't do it, like your clients have a need for it. And the clients love you when you can be a resource to them, when they don't have to spend hours Googling, I'm looking for a lawyer. And now they're spending hours trying to find someone when they're like, if you know someone that you can recommend, that's like a 5-minute email. That's a whole lot more time, whole lot less energy. So love that. And what I would say, one of the things that I talk to my clients around about when it comes to like their business development strategy and their networking strategy is you want to have collaborative referral partners. So individuals who you partner with who in essence want to be an ambassador of your brand. And then the way in which you do that, you have to consider one, vetting those individuals to ensure that like they actually align with like your goals, your vision of your business, your values. Like we want to ensure that we're vetting them, but then we also want to make sure that you're in a mutually beneficial relationship, that both of you mutually can support each other. It's not just, oh, I'm just in a relationship because you can give me what I want and you're just gonna have to figure it out on your own. No, it's a mutually beneficial relationship where both of you are mutually trying to grow each other's businesses to success. And so I find that it's just so important that that collaboration, that it's not just transactional, but it's truly collaborative so that you are building each other up and raising those tides.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to also add to that. I think I agree wholeheartedly with what Tara and Anitra have shared because just thinking back to Tara and I, how we started working together was actually just a mutual acquaintance who introduced us.
Exactly. Yes.
And it's because I was looking for additional things to be able to share with my clients for multiplying their money, essentially. And so we got connected in that way. One thing that has been really beneficial for me, and right along with what Anitra was just sharing, is my relationship with different accountants, right? Because these CPAs, these accountants, they already are working with business owners. They can see the financials. They can see some of the challenges and some of the trouble. When I can share with them what problems I can solve, they're happy to work with me. And those clients are happy that I'm working with their CPA because a lot of business owners consider their CPA as, I hate to say God, but God when it comes to their financials, and they really listen to everything their CPA says. And also, they don't have to worry about trying to find this document and find this tax return. I can just do all of that with their CPA. And so they feel very confident and comfortable that we have this trusted collaboration. And so mutually, we're working together to serve them, right? So everyone wins, right? The CPA or the accountant was being able to provide this extra value to his clients. I'm able to get new clients, and the client itself is getting way more benefits, saving more taxes, et cetera, et cetera. So I think like what Anitra touched on is it has to be mutually beneficial and it has to make sense, right? It's like
Yep.
our time is really important. When you take the time to network with people and establish those relationships, make sure that, there's something that you can offer and something that you can get back.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's very good. And it's like you nailed it with the trust, right? That's where that collaboration comes in. It's having that trust, and then you're transferring that trust to the client that you're giving that referral to. Yeah.
Right.
Carolyn?
Yeah, I just heard today. So it's funny how things come to you, and then this is a perfect opportunity to share it with y'all. Is that the word favor? I never really thought of it this way, but doing a favor for someone only benefits the person, that one person. It's a one-way thing. But what we're talking about is things, as you said, bring more value to others. And so, yeah, so now I hear that word, do me a favor. I understand it better than I did yesterday. But it's important to have a group. Find a good group of people, keep growing it with more people that are like-minded and trustworthy and so forth. And yeah, we remind each other what would be beneficial, and we can help each other and talk about what we've done for one another in between these group meetings. But you're always networking, always, always. Now, friends, they kid me no matter where I am. And when you're talking to people and you're like, you learn what they do, or you're with maybe somebody else. Because yeah, I have no need. I didn't have to staff a project I live in Georgia, in Washington State. But my brother got in touch with me out of the blue and said, hey, anybody that can help me staff this big project? I was like, let me text somebody. And she's like, oh, I'm at that conference for this. It was a franchise staffing agency. I'm sitting next to my counterpart from that area. We're good friends. And it turned to be over a $10 million account for them. And it was just putting people together that needed it. No one would ask the digital business card lady, when people find out you are a networker and you love, a guy. We're the guys that know a guy, for the cliche. And that's when you're at the tailgate. Those are when the real referrals are being made, not necessarily at the time you take to go to your team meeting, or we kind of look at each other's sales training group kind of thing. But we all do different things. And I think it was Leslie made another point that made me write down a note. Your competition is not your competition. Your competition could be some of your best referral partners and collaborators. So don't be afraid to get to know the people that are doing what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. 100% agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Ellen?
I would just say, don't be afraid of having conversations, because if we approach everyone as a sales conversation, then they're going to feel that a mile away. And oftentimes, we don't know who's going to need to have the services, like Carolyn just said, of a person that we've met, but we filed it away in our memory and we understand that. Because it doesn't just come through the doors you expect it to come through. And if it's only coming through those doors, then we're missing all sorts of opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like Leslie said, then we're just trying to get something, compared to being really collaborative and learning their story and understanding. We might not be the ones to work with them. And like Carolyn said, embrace your enemies, because, and they're not enemies. You said competitors, but people always think they're enemies. Is because I tell people all the time, you need to work with other people. Like, we're not done. You need to gain knowledge and you need to get experience and all of that. And that's just embracing growth.
I have a funny story just to follow up on that. I was networking and I had met somebody else in the financial industry. And the very first thing that he said to me is, oh, so are we enemies? He literally came out and said that. And I was a bit shocked, because while I know sometimes that's going through other financial professionals' heads when they find out what I do, that was the first time it was ever spoken to me. And I said to him, I was like, well, you're trying to help your clients, attain their financial goals, right? And he's like, yeah. And I said, I am too. And I said, you want what's best for them, right? You want to serve them in the best way. He's like, yeah. And I said, well, so do I. So I said, aren't we on the same team then? He's like, oh, yeah, well, I guess I can talk to you then. And I thought, well, all right. But it really is about that collaboration and looking for the opportunity.
But we have these things with us all the time. So if you meet someone and you put their contact information in, make some notes in there. I typically do it where their company name is, so that if it's 5 years later and it's like, oh, wait, I can remember part of it. They do this, this, and this. And so that's the kind of thing I do there like now. And if in my contact, when I share it, it says digital business card lady because I had a guy I've known for 5 years that said, I can't believe I've known you for this long. And I went to a meeting today and the whole segment was go get a digital business card. So yeah, make detailed notes in your contacts so you can make those great connections. Or just catch up. Like Anitra had said, she was having a catch up call with somebody and it turned into a whole new world.
So important to
I was just
really
thinking
get
of
to know people. Go ahead, Leslie. Sorry, please.
I was going to say, and just I feel like maybe Ellen touched on it, right? Is like collaboration is so important. Even if you are the best at what you do, you cannot do everything.
Yeah.
You only enhance what you're doing when you can bring other people to the table. So don't like she mentioned, don't be afraid to communicate, don't be afraid to reach out, don't be afraid to collaborate. You're probably going to better serve your client if you're open to collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are all different kinds of ways that we can collaborate. There are lots of ways to structure that relationship. And one thought that came to my mind as you were all saying this too is that being proactive and asking, who can I introduce you to? What would be a benefit to you? Who would be a good person for me to introduce you to? And make those connections with folks for them.
And Regina, like bouncing off on that, like I've got I'm a data girl, and I believe that as business owners, we got to be data centric. We just can't just always tell stories. And I actually have a statistic to back that up, because going back to your original question around like, why don't we have more women millionaires? And part of it is that statistically, and again, there's some things around there, is that it takes about 5 follow-ups in order to close a deal. But statistically, 44% will literally drop off on their follow-up after the first time. 44%. By the time they get to follow-up 4, 96% will drop off in their follow-up, meaning only 4% of people will actually take that extra mile to go ahead and actually follow up and close that deal. And so I think part of it is that like we don't ask enough, and we're not persistent in our asking. We give up way too easily to actually ask for the things that we want. And I think we all know that adage of just like closed mouths don't get fed. If we are truly going to be able to grow in the line of collaboration, we have to ask our people. We can't be afraid to ask them. The worst thing they can tell us is no. Yeah. Okay, great. You don't know someone, that's fine. Oh, but you know somebody else? Oh, that's great. Like literally the worst thing they can say is no, I don't know anybody. Okay, great. But I do know somebody else. Oh, well, that's even better. So I think we've got to just get over that sense of that if you don't get what you're looking for, it's not a bad thing. You still have to continue to ask. And I'll finalize that with this one piece is around collaborations also generate revenue, because a lot of times, especially when we think about lead generation and client acquisition, a lot of times it's around meeting a whole lot of new people. But I really like to look at the framework of how do we actually acquire clients through retention and re-engagement, meaning when it comes to our people that we know, our referral partners, how are we actually maintaining those relationships and re-engaging with them? Because when it comes to even like our success rates and even closing clients, you get a 5 to 20% success rate when you're trying to sell to a new person, when 60 to 70, you have a 60 to 70% more of a success rate when you're selling to someone that they know. And so for me, I'm just like that collaboration of really like developing a relationship with someone that knows you, that likes you, that trusts you. You have a higher success rate of growing your business than trying to go out and talking to 700 million different people, trying to go ahead and build a relationship with a stranger when you literally can just send an email to Leslie and say, hey, Leslie, do you have an attorney that you know? You do? Great. There's a new client. That client is now served. Everyone is happy.
I love that you brought in retention and engagement. It's so important and so overlooked by many businesses. That's powerful. Thank you for bringing those stats as well.
You're welcome.
Very good. We've got about 10 minutes left before we go into our wrap-up round. So let's talk for a moment, a little further, if we may, to those women who maybe they haven't gotten out of that comfort zone yet. Maybe they're still sitting back there going, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to do, what to say, where to go. How would you encourage them? What guidance would you give them? What encouragement would you give them to get out there and build that network that where they can collaborate. Leslie, I saw your head nod first.
Well, I think it's a good question because I think about, like I said, I came from a completely different industry. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was not in sales, but now I'm a business owner. So you're automatically in sales. And I felt like that a little bit, right? I just think back to when I was starting, I just started with small groups, and it was just small groups of people who I had a shared interest with. And then and then I would bring up the conversation of what I was doing or just ask them what they do. And it started slowly from there. And I started to build my confidence. I was able to speak more articulately about the way that I serve people and what I can do. And it grew from there. I think with any new exercise, you have to work that muscle bit by bit, and then it becomes just second nature. But I would say start in a small group of women, right? You could start in a small group of women. Maybe you have a shared interest, or where there's people, at least one person that would be your wing person. That's what I would suggest if you're just new to collaboration.
Very good. Ella, did I see that you had a thought there as well?
I have lots of thoughts. I always encourage, in fact, I just had this call today with some clients, is if you approach each day like winning the day, it's the compound effect. Otherwise, they're thinking about what's going to happen in the month or the quarter, or we're already down to the last half of the year. So it's those little tiny steps. It's winning the day. And what goes along with that to help anyone step out of their comfort zone is you have to know your why. Because otherwise, we won't do what's really uncomfortable. And if we understand why we're doing it, it will help us win the day. That's it. You win a
Good
day, you
point.
win a week, you win a week, you win a month.
I like that. Win the day.
Yeah.
I like that.
I would add to that too, to not be afraid of your own passion, to let your passion shine through. So if you're passionate about what you're doing and what you want to share, let it come out. It's something that I find I'm the most effective when I'm just speaking off the cuff and I'm just having a very casual conversation with somebody. And then all of a sudden it's like they want to know more or they're ready to move on something. And I always sit and I analyze that when I'm trying to do this, it's not working. But then when I'm not trying, and I guess that's the whole point, is that you're coming at it from a different intentionality. And when you allow your passion to come through, it comes through very honestly and transparently. And people like that. They're attracted to that.
Yeah, very true. Carolyn?
Sorry, Nike, I'm going to borrow a line, but just do it. And and you're going to be scared, nervous, afraid. And if you want to talk to me, call me, because I was the person in my 40s that could barely say my name in a room full of people. It was that just getting my name out was more than sometimes I'd cry on the way to the meetings. I just was so nervous and so bad at it. But the people in the group were so nice, and they were, even some were much younger, they had way more experience in how to do these kind of connections well. And they changed to all of that. And there's something really satisfying to conquer a fear, like one that was really, it was debilitating. I told you I was feeling ill and crying. It's just not good. So find people that have done it. It's okay. All of that is natural. That our whole lives were like, what did they think? Don't worry about what they think. Most people that want to be a collaborator are already cheering for you.
Yeah.
So we think good things. So don't worry about it being negative. And I thought, but it fell out of my brain. Can anybody out there help me with, oh, that's what it was. I was going to say with getting old and forgetting, no matter how old you are. So that was a one time being old actually helped me. But I remember when I was a kid, my mother, she'd read the newspaper and read Ann Landers and Dear Abby. And a woman wrote in and was all upset about trying to go back to college and get a degree and start a new career at her age. And I'll be 52 years old or something by the time I'd graduate. And then her response was, how old will you be if you don't go back to college in 5 years?
Exactly.
So you'd still be whatever age without it. Yep. So go get it. Have a good time.
That's right. That's right. Anitra?
Yes, I think when it comes to getting out of our comfort zones, I think it always requires a shift in mindset. And I find, especially among women, is that we're caretakers, we're givers. A lot, I can't remember. I can't tell how many times I see people on LinkedIn being like, I feel like I have to be the one to do it all. Like it has to be on me. And I want to, like, to that woman who's just like, I'm not really sure if I can just ask someone else. I want you to know that you deserve to get your needs met. And in business, you deserve to earn money for the services, for the products that you've created. You deserve that. You absolutely 100% deserve that. And in order to get that, you have to ask people to help you. You have to ask people to fulfill that need. And I know it feels scary to put yourself out there, to be vulnerable, to say, I need something. Because a lot of times, especially in the way our society is, women for some reason feels like we don't have needs to be met because we can do it all. But no, honey, like in order to grow your business and having to have that team of women who are going to be your cheerleaders, they have to know what's going on, and you deserve to be filled with the support, with the encouragement that you need to move forward.
I'd
I
like
think
to ask a question in response to that. How fulfilled and blessed do you feel when you've helped somebody else along the way?
It's
We all
immense.
do.
It's
It's
absolutely
immense.
immense.
So when we don't allow others to help us, we're denying them that opportunity for blessings and fulfillment.
right.
Yeah,
It's a very good way to look at it.
Yeah,
Yes.
great perspective. And it's so true.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
our culture, though, I think we're also, as females, given that space to be a little vulnerable and emotional, whatever we all want to call it. Where sometimes our boys are in the world, sometimes are raised to be, they don't ask. So we have this
yeah,
secret sort of thing that we can do because a lot of women are willing to lay it out there.
yeah,
And poor guys have to act like they can do it all and be a provider and so forth.
yeah.
It's kind of cool. It's cool to have it.
It is. It is. Tara, any final thoughts on that before we move into our wrap up round?
No, I just want to say thank you so much. All of you ladies are just such incredible professionals and entrepreneurs and thought leaders in your industries. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to collaborate with each and every one of you.
Awesome. So with that, let's move into our wrap up round. Tara, if you will run that for us, what I'd like you to do is call on each person for their final thoughts on collaboration and their contact information. And while you do
Absolutely.
that, I'll put their contact information into the chat.
Perfect. All right. We'll just go around the room again. Leslie, would you like to start us off?
Sure. So I guess as a final thought around collaboration is that it is necessary for business. It doesn't matter, what industry you're in, what level you're at, not even just business, just in your professional endeavors, because you can't do everything alone, right? You might specialize in one thing, but you can certainly enhance what you're doing through learning or collaborating with others. I highly encourage it. And I plan to connect with all of you ladies after this to continue collaborating. But I guess I would just say lastly, for me, if you are a business owner, especially if you're like a mid-sized business owner, you're not sure how to move forward, you're thinking about how will I exit from this business, I'd love to be able to help you out. You can go to my website, youbetyourassets.co, and there's a link to take my free assessment. It takes 20 minutes. You just book a 1 hour time slot with me, take 20 minutes to go through the assessment, and we'll review it together and we'll see what are some of the opportunities or some of the risks that we've identified based on the assessment. And I'd love to work with you.
Beautiful.
Excellent.
Thank you. Carolyn, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, y'all. This was a good time. It really flew by. I think that more than anything, it's not only a good thing to do for your business, but it's good for your mental health. Regina just had mentioned, you feel it's great. And so let's keep it going. Let's keep those good vibes happening. And my digital business card will be in the chat or this QR code. So I can never hide from you. You scan it.
Love it. Anitra?
Thank you. So my last thoughts on collaboration is that collaboration requires follow-up. The way in which my business got started is because I followed up with a colleague about what was going on in my world. And the way in which I've grown my business is following up with my partners. And through that follow-up, I've created tons of different ways to collaborate, to share resources, to be able to go ahead and share and introduce clients to each other. And so when you think about collaboration, it's great to have those initial meetings, but you've got to continue it on. You got to continue to have those conversations and build that relationship. And this month here in July, I'm actually hosting a challenge called the Connection Cleanse, which is all about how to re-engage, reconnect with people in your network. So I definitely invite you, that information will be in the chat, to check that out so that you can also too really reconnect with those trusted individuals in your network to continue to grow.
Love
Beautiful.
that.
Thank you. Ellen?
Life isn't meant to be a solo journey. And when we understand that, it's the benefit of finding the information from somebody who's done what you want to do or can help you do what you want to do. But don't forget then that you have an expertise as well for somebody else who's going to need it. And when we can just remember that, it serves everyone. And the ultimate way to collaborate is masterminding. And when we all recognize and realize that even some of the most accomplished people mastermind, the reason is because there's power in groups.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. Just my final thoughts. One of my favorite quotes in business is, and we've alluded to it already today, is a rising tide raises all ships. And so that's something that's super important to me when I work with my clients. I look to work with driven individuals who are looking to achieve the next level in their financial goals. And a lot of times that means bringing in a team. Oftentimes people rely on one person and they think they're getting all of the information there. We need a team of people. We need a collaborative approach to reaching those goals, especially like what we talked about today. Millionaire status for women, it's not going to come from just you. It's not going to come from just one person. You need a team in order to do that. And we're happy to help you with that. We have a signature coaching program that we're launching this month with a group cohort, as well as private sessions. And so that's something that I'm super excited to be able to share with everybody too. You can reach me at my website or through my social media, which will be posted there. And I look forward to collaborating with each and every one of you further.
Awesome. Ladies, this has been wonderful. I really appreciate it. Tara, thank you so much for agreeing to be our guest co-host today and for bringing this amazing panel of women.
Thank you so much for
I've
the
truly been
opportunity.
fed. I'm sure our viewers have been fed as well today. This was wonderful. And I can't wait to connect on a deeper level with each of you. I see opportunities all over this board here. And I think that we have to get out of the box sometimes when we're thinking about collaboration. One of the things that we look for in one of the avenues of my business, the CEO Holy Grail, one of the things that we look for is what I call white label partners. So people who can bring in a skill set that allows me to still work at that executive level, working with the executives, and we bring in these other skill sets throughout the organization to be able to do all the things that need to be done. And so don't forget about those kinds of things as well. There are lots of ways that we can partner together, that we can collaborate together. But as you've all expressed today, we're looking for that win-win-win. It needs to be a win for you, a win for me, and a win for our clients. It needs to be a win all the way around.
Exactly.
So thank you, ladies, for being here today. I want to thank our audience for watching, and we'll see you next time on Collaboration Conversations. Bye for now.